Okay, I'm Jeff with the Dutchman's Woodcheck. How you doing? I thought I'd explain how I come about these bowls, the designs and stuff. I just throw them together. Actually, that's the truth. I'm not lying to you. I look at things and I go, okay, like for instance, the shape. I didn't start out that way, and I said, well, let's try this and see, and that's kind of what I end up with. Anyway. To further explain how I come about making a bowl. First off, wood. That's a crucial part of your project. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a project, would you? Anyway. Depending on the project that I'm going to do, I'll select different kinds of wood. Now, since my bowls, they're all different, I have different ways of doing bowls. Sometimes when I glue bowls together, the wood I get that I select for that design is going to tell me how I want it to look, so to speak. The one thing I can tell you is hardwoods and softwoods kind of don't mix as much as they should be. Now, I've been doing a combination of both. This is some really pretty pine I picked up. It was something like this, except it had old style pine that I got from years ago, and they were basically cut down to 5/8 strips like this. And what I usually do is I go through the wood and I cut all the bad stuff off, run it through a joiner and through a thickness planer, and that's what you come out with. Now you notice there's a little bit of there. Now that makes a difference when you're turning. Especially the way I've been doing my bowls lately. I've been doing the grain ends like this. Now, sometimes I do it where the grain ends are like this, and you gouge in this way. Again, it's design, it's preference, whatever feels good to you, do it. Anyway, this one is a combination of pine, oak, and walnut. And I like the dark walnut base. And the reason why I have a base like this, and the way I did this, is because this one kind of creates more of a lip when I do this. And that's what my whole idea here is, to get that lip. Here, I'll show you. See, there's a lip right there, right? Now that's when I went like this with the wood, all right? Okay, and I did the same thing with the back part of it here. And the reason I did that is it looks nicer, and it's a little bit easier to work with when you're gouging this part to try and make it, you know, a little rim here, and the same thing with this. Now, once I pick out my wood, what I do is I make sure that it's all straight, level, and it's not warped. I run it through a thickness planer, which I've got over there, and I also run it through a joiner, and so that I get all the imperfection off it. Then the second thing is I see if they fit. Okay, now I'm not worried so much about the end grains like this. I didn't run this through a joiner because what I'll do is I'll run this through a table saw or the thickness planer, depending on how I set up. Now, like this, for instance, see this? This is what the end game is going to look like before I cut it all up and do what I need to do. See, now it's all imperfect, right? So I'll run this through the thickness planer, and this through the joiner. All right, that squares it off, and then what I'll do is I'll cut the corners off at a 45. Now, my bandsaw is off; it's broken, so I can't really do a circle in it. But you want to, if you can do it, because you're going to turn it anyway. Take a lot of this, and it keeps it from chipping or gouging chunks out. If you can cut it in a circle before you start cutting or gouging. Okay, this is the glue I use. This Titebond stuff, the original, it's good stuff, never had any problems with it. Although, rumor has it I should be using something a little bit stronger, so, but, other than that, I mean, that's pretty basic. What I usually do is I use things for scrap like pine or somebody else's branch. Now, one thing you don't want to do, you see that? That's useless. It's no good. So, it's basically firewood. Um, stuff like this, that's made out of a branch. And it's nice, but the problem is, again, you got to make sure that this was dry, the wood is dry, and that you don't have a lot of knots in it when you're using firewood. That's the only thing I can tell you on that one. Experience, that's the other thing. Okay, pretty much when I assemble these things, I assemble it like this. And I use every clamp that I can find in the house, basically, because that's how you clamp these together. I usually have something on top of here and something on the bottom. I'm trying to make a jig that's made out of plexiglass that you can actually use, clamp it together. You don't have to worry about the glue sticking to it and pull it off. You know, I'm all clamped up. Really. Anyway, I hope that explains something. I know it's kind of thrown together, but once I do this, then I get down to the point, once I gouge it, get down to this, I go through tons of sandpaper. I start out with 80 to 100 grit, then I go 120, then I go 180, and they got 220. Eventually 600. Anyway, just a thought. Thought I'd throw it to you and show you. Right now I'm in the process of trying to curve this out, make it nice and smooth. There are a few imperfections on it, like right here, maybe, but it's minor because that's part of the wood. Where knots and stuff were, and you can expect that, so you just deal with it. Anyway, hope it shows you something. Again, if you have any ideas or questions or comments, you look at Dutch Carpenter, or the Dutchman's Wood Shack, okay? Don't forget me. See you.